Today, we're going to talk about the squad, how they should set up for these next games, and we be worried about all these injuries that we have going on, because the fact is we've got a couple injuries in significant portions of the pitch that I think have pretty negatively affected the way this team can set up and have fed to the reasons that they haven't played wonderfully recently. Now, all right, we're going to specifically be talking about the Celta Vigo and the and the second leg in the Dortmund match, because it didn't go perfectly, right? It didn't go well for that matter, but they were able to scrape out the Celta Vigo win, and it didn't really matter if they won in the Dortmund match as long as they were good enough to move on. And they did. Right? They did what they needed to do, but they had to rotate, and a few guys went out injured, specifically Alejandro Balde and Robert Lewandowski. And those are both very significant losses, but we're going to talk a little bit why one, I think, is more significant than the other, being Balde, being a bigger deal, because we replace him with Gerard Martin, who is just not the same profile, right? He can't fill in space the same way. He can't break through pressure, and is just not as good on the ball. And he's not nearly as good of a threat going forward as well, which significantly worsens this team's ability to go wide. I think that's part of the reason they struggled against Celta Vigo in the first half, especially with Lamine Yamal not playing. Now, guys, it's not the end of the world. I think, especially since he should hopefully be back against Inter, I think that's a good consolation that we've been seeing him training. I think he can get that hip, or I think it's his hamstring, working for that Inter match, which will be important to be able to face them. The fact is, I just don't think Real Madrid is going to be as... I don't know. I'm just not worried about it in the same way. In the same way that I would have been if it were literally any other team but Madrid. I'm not impressed with Madrid. I think they have so much negativity around them right now. I'm sure it is infecting the dressing room a little bit. I really, really can't see them being that good in the Copa del Rey or in the La Liga match, for that matter. I think the La Liga match means less because we have, I think, more than 3-point advantage, which will give us, a little bit of a barrier based on whatever happens in that game. But I know they're going to want to stop Barcelona's title push. Or Copa del Rey push as well, but I just don't think they can. And so I think I'm more calm about losing Balde, or not necessarily having him healthy for that match, than I would be about losing him for the Inter match. But Lewandowski is going to be out as well, because he's going to be out for about 3 weeks now. And it's a little worrying, because we lose our top goal scorer, I think the top goal scorer in the top 5 leagues. He's been great this season, and without him, it might be a little bit tough to score. Now, I don't think it's the biggest issue, because we've created so many chances for other guys this season. Rafinha obviously has been incredibly prolific. Lamine can be. We've seen him start scoring a little bit less, but they've been sharing the goals around pretty well. We've seen Dani Olmo turn it up recently, and hopefully he's back and fully healthy in these next few matches. I think we're going to really need him to, especially without Lewa. Now, I don't necessarily know if they're going to set up with him playing as a false 9 or Ferran Torres in as a striker position. I would assume for the Mallorca game tomorrow, we're going to see Ferran Torres start, and then potentially experiment with Dani Olmo against Madrid. I think it would be a good option, because Lewandowski is not that great of a link or a hold-up play striker, especially with Rudiger and Asensio being pretty dominant and stronger defenders. They'd be fouling Lewandowski a lot. He'd be going down. He wouldn't be linking up all that well. I think Dani Olmo there, being mobile, being able to move them around, open up a ton of space in behind for either Rafinha or Fermin Lopez, probably, who would play in the number 10 spot if Danny is playing as the number 9. I think that would be pretty mean. So I would like to see that. Maybe they experiment with it a little bit against Mallorca, but I would rather the guy who's not nearly as injury prone in Ferran Torres start there against in the league tomorrow. Now, again, it's not a perfect solution, but I think it's enough where I'm less worried about Lewandowski, even against Madrid and especially against Inter, that I think Inter is so big and strong that they'd give Lewandowski a little bit of trouble. Acerbi is big. Bastoni is big, even though he plays wider. And I think they just give Lewandowski a tough time in a way that I think Dani Olmo moving around can be a little bit better. You could say the same for Ferran Torres. And having that ability in the middle can also potentially create some space and create some concern that will open up areas for Lamine Yamal. we've seen some potentially aura farming moments for my boy, because we've seen some Italian pundits talking negatively about Lamine, or not negatively, but doing their thing, right? Disagreeing that Lamine is going to be this great player, and every time they do, we've seen him shut them up. So I wouldn't be surprised if Homie scores a couple bangers in the next coming days, because I think he'll want it. He's a big game farmer. He loves these big matches. I think he'll show up and he'll probably score in these next few. He needs 5 more goals, I believe, to reach 20 goals, and then he'll have a 2020 season if he gets another assist as well, which would be ridiculous for a 17-year-old. And I think he can do it because he just wants these big games. He's firing in these big games. I expect this kid to be so important for this team going forward, and it's not really a perfect solution, but having those false 9 options and those mobility options in Ferran Torres and Dani Olmo can really, I don't know. I'm not going to say the team is going to be better without Lewandowski, but I think it'll be really good. And they might not finish as optimally as they have under Lewandowski, who has actually outperformed his XG this season. It's close, but he has outperformed his XG, which is a critique I've had of him in last season specifically. But I don't think it's the worst thing to happen. I think it's less significant than Balde, because again, we have guys that can do things and potentially make the team better in certain areas than Lewandowski did, but we don't have the same for Balde. Gerard Martin is just pretty much overall a worse player, and that doesn't mean he's a bad player. I think he's gotten so much better this season. I'm comfortable with him, but not if we're getting pressed hard, like I think Inter Milan can really do to us. They can make it difficult for our guys to move the ball around in a way that it would really be beneficial for us to have Balde around. He can, again, get through pressure, help this team be a little bit more just prolific or exciting. Gerard Martin can't do it. He might be a better defender. That's like, I'm pretty certain to say that he could be a better defender than Balde, and he puts in some good tackles, wins the ball back. Specifically, that tackle that won Rafinha the ball back against Dortmund was ridiculous, and he can do that a lot. But he's just not going to be the same in possession, and possession is so important to this team. That's one of the reasons that I think Pedri has been so critical. And when we saw him not play against Dortmund, we were just not the same. Even though Gavi was fine, he wasn't that bad. I know we're critical of Gavi this season, and it's been a little bit sadder that he hasn't gone crazy. The fact that Pedri wasn't there, and his ability to just spin around and hold possession, find spaces, run into space, do his thing, hurt the team. And if he could stay healthy, I think we can compete everywhere. And I still think we can. With these injuries, I just had a conversation with Junior, who runs an Instagram or a YouTube account here, and you guys have probably seen his shorts. And we were talking a little bit about who I think the most important player this season, and I genuinely think it's Pedri. I think without Pedri, we saw in the Dortmund match, this team's not the same, or they just cannot recreate the play that they do. They cannot work through pressure, and Inter Milan can press them. I'm not worried about Madrid, and with all of these injuries, I'm really, really not. And I think that's a cocky thing to say, and maybe somebody's going to clip that and use that in something, but I don't know, boys. I think they have so much going on. I would be incredibly impressed if they're able to put it together. I know they're going to want to. They're probably talking in the dressing room. This is all they're focused on, but they got to play Getafe midweek, and that's a terror ball if I've ever seen it. So if they struggle even the slightest against them, they're going to set them up to probably struggle again against Barcelona on Saturday. I think it'll be a good match. I think it'll be fun to watch. I think it'll be exciting, but I think Barcelona are going to win the Copa del Rey, and they're going to take another step into a great season and do some sick things. But again, it's having to manage all these minutes of these guys and deal with the injuries that are going to be there. I think they'll be able to do it, but it's finding ways to solve those problems. It could be Hector Fort. I've seen it talked about a lot. Like, why doesn't he play more? I don't know. I really don't have a good answer. I know Hansi loves the profile that Koundé brings, the defensive solidity that he has, but Hector Fort can go forward, and we've seen him played at left back before. Why not try him there again? We'll see. I don't know. I don't think Hansi likes him there. He believes in him, and that's how he's made all his decisions. I think that's part of the reason we didn't see Ansu Fati, because Hansi just he isn't convinced. Maybe we'll see him against Mallorca. I would like to see Fati. I think it's probably them wanting to make their player that they're going to sell a saleable asset instead of someone who's just been on the bench all year, make him look appealing, even though they really don't care for him or care to play him. I think that's probably more of the case, but Majorca, I don't care if you rotate the entire squad. I don't care if we lose. I really don't care. We can drop points in La Liga if we have to. I think prioritizing the Copa del Rey and the UCL right now is what matters, especially because we have that Valladolid match in between Inter Milan and the other Inter Milan game. I think that gives us a little bit of time to rest and breathe, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out tomorrow. I think walking away with a win tomorrow makes it a lot more comfortable going forward. And if we're able to rest, I don't know, maybe Pedri for some of the latter stages of the match. Maybe we go up 2 or 3 goals early. We rest Lamine and Pedri. Those are the guys I'm most worried about. I'm not too worried about Koundé. I think he'll figure it out. I'm not too worried about Kubarsi or Inigo or really anybody else. I think Rafinha will be fine. And now that hopefully he got over that hill, that mess with that's been basically plaguing him since the Argentina game. I think he could be really important tomorrow just to get those goals in and get us through, especially with Lewandowski being out. This is our next few matches are probably going to rely a lot on him and connecting well with Danny or Ferran Torres, whoever plays there. We'll see how it plays out. I'm pretty confident in these guys. Let me know if you guys have better solutions, though, for this injury mess that we've got going on. And what do you think is going to happen going forward? But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Just wanted to hop on here and talk to you guys a little bit about these injuries and what I think is going to happen. But I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Peace, everybody.